For more than 1,000 years, a vast network of land routes connected the civilizations of East and West. This network was not a single road, but a complex system of paths crossing deserts, mountains, and empires. It later became known as the Silk Road, a name that reflects both its most famous product and its immense economic influence. The origins of the Silk Road trace back to ancient China during the Han Dynasty, around the 2nd century BCE. At that time, China had achieved mastery in producing silk, a fabric unknown and highly desired beyond its borders. Silk was light, durable, and luxurious, making it valuable enough to justify long and dangerous journeys. Trade along the Silk Road did not involve merchants traveling from China all the way to Europe. Instead, goods moved step by step through intermediaries. A trader would sell his goods to another, who carried them further west, increasing their value at each stage. This system created one of the earliest long-distance commercial networks in human history. Caravans became the backbone of this trade. Camels, particularly Bactrian camels, were ideal for crossing harsh environments such as the Gobi and Taklamakan deserts. These caravans transported silk, tea, spices, porcelain, and jade from the east, while returning with gold, silver, glassware, wool, and precious stones from the west. The journey was never safe. Traders faced extreme heat, freezing cold, sandstorms, bandits, and political instability. Despite these dangers, profits were so high that commerce continued for centuries. Over time, small resting points along the routes grew into major commercial cities. Cities such as Kashgar, Bukhara, and Samarkand emerged as powerful economic centers. These cities were not only markets, but also places where cultures mixed. Languages, clothing styles, technologies, and customs blended together, creating societies that were more diverse than anywhere else in the ancient world. The Silk Road was not limited to economic exchange. It became a channel for knowledge and ideas. One of the most important technologies to spread westward was paper. Originally invented in China, paper transformed administration, education, and trade wherever it arrived, replacing expensive materials like papyrus and parchment. Religions also traveled along these routes. Buddhism spread from India into Central Asia and China through monks who moved alongside merchants. Later, Islam expanded across Central Asia through trade networks rather than conquest, showing how trade could influence belief systems. Empires quickly recognized the financial importance of controlling the Silk Road. The Han Dynasty invested heavily in securing routes, while the Parthian and later the Roman empires benefited from taxing trade. Economic power became closely tied to geography and route control. Although Rome and China never had direct contact, silk became extremely popular among Roman elites. Roman historians complained that gold was flowing eastward in exchange for luxury goods, creating an early discussion about trade imbalance and economic dependency. As trade expanded, financial systems evolved. Merchants began using credit arrangements, contracts, and early forms of promissory notes to avoid carrying large amounts of metal currency. Trust and reputation became as valuable as gold in long-distance trade. However, the Silk Road also carried unintended consequences. Diseases moved along the same routes as goods. The Black Death, which devastated Europe in the 14th century, is believed to have spread partly through Silk Road trade connections, demonstrating the risks of global connectivity. The Silk Road reached its height during the Tang Dynasty and later under the Mongol Empire. The Mongols unified vast territories, creating a period of relative safety that allowed merchants, travelers, and diplomats to move more freely than ever before. This stability made famous journeys like that of Marco Polo possible. Over time, the importance of the Silk Road declined. Maritime trade routes developed, offering faster and cheaper transportation by sea. Ships gradually replaced caravans, and oceans replaced deserts as the main highways of global trade. Despite its decline, the legacy of the Silk Road remains powerful. It demonstrated that economic growth depends on connectivity, cooperation, and exchange. The ancient world was far more interconnected than often imagined. Even today, modern global supply chains reflect the same principles established along the Silk Road. Goods, capital, and ideas continue to flow across borders, shaping economies just as they did thousands of years ago. In this way, the Silk Road was more than a trade route. It was the foundation of early globalization, proving that history, culture, and economic power have always traveled together.